Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayh wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illallahu wahdahu la sharika lahu. ونشهد أن سيدنا وسندنا وشفيعنا محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم فاستقم كما أمرت ومن تاب معك صدق الله العظيم اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على عبدك ورسولك سيد الأولين والآخرين إمام الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد ابن عبد الله المصطفى المجتبى وعلى آله وصحبه وأمته أجمعين. There's a word in the Arabic language, and those of us who know this word, it represents our dream in terms of how we wish we could be on deen. And that word is istiqamah. Istiqamah, to be firm and steadfast and consistent and persevere and be constant on deen. That is our dream. But our reality is that we find ourselves wavering, slipping and sliding, having peaks like inshallah will soon come in Ramadan, but then very shortly thereafter again declining, and then sometimes rising, and then again declining. And as you get older, even for those of you who are young, you will start to wonder, will I ever be settled in deen? Because people talk about being settled in dunya, right? And they're very clear milestones for that you have spouse, and you have house, and you have mouse, which is your car, Allahu Akbar, and you have children, and you have career. There's certain milestones. And strangely enough, with the fazl and karam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the bounty and grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there are actually a fair number of Muslims who achieve those milestones and actually become settled in dunya. But even notwithstanding their success in dunya, they also feel that I still don't have istiqamah in my deen. Come on. So today what I'm going to do, inshaAllah ta'ala, is I'm going to mention 3 reasons, 3 obstacles why we don't have istiqamah, 3 feelings by which we can, inshaAllah, move towards istiqamah, and 3 actions that we need to do in order to become people of istiqamah. The ayah of Quran al-Kareem that I recited is considered by the ulama of tafsir to be from a category of ayat which are some of the most powerful verses in Quran al-Kareem in the sense of the tone, the jalal of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He's addressing them in the first instance to Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which is an inherent problem in translation, because in English the word you can be you singular, you one person, and can also be you plural. And so if you read the Quran al-Kareem with the English translation, you don't get the full feeling of it. So I'm going to try to capture the feeling and tone of Almighty, All-Majestic Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when I translate this for you. Second is that you should know, just like in the world of currency, there are strong currencies and there are weak currencies. So you give $1 and you get 300 rupees. Just like that in the world of languages, there are strong languages and weak languages. With one Arabic word, you need about 20, 30 English words, even to begin to try to translate that word. Fastaqim. Be steadfast, be firm, persevere. Kama umirta, as you, singular Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, have already been commanded to by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fastaqim kama umirta wa man taba ma'ak, and every single person who has made tawbah from their shirk, from their previous life, and yani has accepted deen of Islam ma'ak, with you. They are also addressed by this command of Allah Jalal in Quran al-Kareem, Fastaqim, have istiqamah. So me and you also then are addressed with the same command, and that's part of what it means to be from the Ummah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam and us are all mukhatab of Quran al-Kareem. We are all addressed by one and only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the same set of commands. And in this verse, fastaqim, have istiqamah. And again, we look in our life. Where is it? Few and far between have istiqamah in their Fajr Salah. Few and far between have istiqamah in lowering their gaze. Few and far between have istiqamah in controlling their anger. Few and far between are perfectly honest. Where do we see it in our life? So first, the three reasons that are keeping us back from istiqamah. Number one, hopelessness. The first kind of hopelessness is due to something external. Sometimes it's some situation that a person is going through. They're stuck in some situation. Maybe they have some enmity that someone is directing towards them. Maybe they're facing some trial or test in their career, some setback, some failure in dunya, in life, in relationships. Some heartache, some heartbreak, some betrayal, some disloyalty. They're in a situation. And that situation has created this feeling, emotion of hopelessness in their heart. And when they're hopeless, forget istiqamah, forget perseverance in action and amal, they're dwindling in their actions. They don't feel like doing anything. And this apathy affects them in their dunya also, but it also affects them in their deen. And another type of hopelessness, just to finish something I did for you in the Jummah khutbah, can be to an external situation, not in my life, but in the world. I was telling the people after Maghrib that when I wear this, although I dropped it and some fellow put it on the table, it's not out of fashion. But I will absolutely confess to you, I never wore one of these before October 7th. I do it to remind myself in every gathering of deen. And I also ask you be willing to be reminded that no gathering of deen should be empty of the dhikr of the Ahl al-Filistin. That's why I carry this with me. Some people express that hopelessness about what's going on with the Muslim Ummah. Some people have said, I'm so hopeless, I feel so helpless, I feel so powerless, I don't feel like doing anything. So I will restate and expand one of the things I was saying in Jummah. Look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is aliman hakima. He is all-knowing, He is all-wise. Apparently, outwardly, it might be that the Ahl Filistin may not get a fath, a victory in that territory on the map of this world. But if 30,000, 40,000, Al-Aman, Al-Hafiz, 50,000 become shaheed, are gifted with shahada by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and their surviving relatives are all from the Sabirin, so they're gifted according to Quran with the ma'iyyat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inna Allaha ma'as sabirin, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's special intimate nearness will envelop them. Then for them they have a measure of victory in the akhirah. But the victory could be that if those 30, 40, 50,000 Al-Aman, Al-Hafiz become shaheed, but because of that, 1.2 or 1.5 billion Muslims in the world wake up, that would be a victory. Now the 1.2 or 1.5 billion Muslims who are not in that territory waking up, that is your and my battle to fight. That we wake up. we can bring about that victory. And if we do that victory by being inspired by them, motivated by them, then inshallah they will get a share of this victory along with their being blessed with shahada. You should never be hopeless with an external situation, because you know the perfection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the perfection of all of His attributes. He is as perfect in each of His attributes as He is perfect in His essence. He is of perfect wisdom, perfect justice, perfect mercy. Al-Wadud, huwa al-Ghafur al-Wadud, of perfect forgiveness, perfect love. Allahu Akbar. The perfection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us hope. We are not worshipping something, na'udhu billah, random. We are believers in the absolute, unique, one and only, majestic, perfect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are His servants and slaves. So our hope lies not in our imperfection or our failure. Our hope lies in the perfection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's a second kind of hopelessness though, that also sometimes stops people. Second reason from getting istiqamah is not due to anything external, it's internal. What do I mean? What exactly I said to you earlier, that we are unable to be steadfast. So a person tries for years not to miss Fajr. Goes on Umrah, goes on Hajj, prays in Ramadan, makes dua, still misses it. Person tries for years to lower their gaze. Sits in itikaf, cries to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, makes tawbah, promises from the bottom of their heart they will never do that sin again. And maybe days, weeks, months pass, but then they fall into that sin again. And this cycle repeats itself, then a person gets hopeless about themselves. I'm too weak, I cannot take myself out of this sin, I cannot achieve success. This is also a misunderstanding. Because istiqamah, big misunderstanding. Istiqamah is not in the result. Istiqamah is in the effort. So I'll give you an example that I used to give many years ago. That if there is a boxer in the ring, his coach in his corner will never get upset if the boxer gets knocked down. He will only get upset if the boxer doesn't get right back up to fight the good fight, even if only just to get knocked down again. Just like that is us and our nafs. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not demand that all of us be 100% successful in defeating our nafs. Just that we spend our whole life trying until we die trying. Because then on the day of judgment, a person can say that, yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I tried to make tawbah from that sin, and that sin, and that sin, and sooner or later it caught up with me, and I fell into it again. But although I cannot say that a moment came when I never did that sin again, I can say that never did I do that sin, except that after doing that sin, again I make tawbah to you, that I would never do it again. Istiqamah in the effort, not in the result. This is amazing. I can tell you as a professor, this would never work if a student came to me with this philosophy. Allahu Akbar. If he came to me and said, I tried again to write an essay with an A. I said, I'm sorry, it's a C. And then he comes again, maybe he takes another class with me, takes a third course with me, every time he says, I said, I can still only give you a C. Because in this worldly realm, it's about the result. Yeah, there is a being with Al-Kareem. He will award you on the basis of effort. All of you know, on the basis of intention. Niyyah. Allahu Akbar. This is one of the many, many explanations of innamal a'malu bin niyat. Likulli imri'in ma nawa. That's why I recited these core hadith to you in the Jummah khutbah. The niyat was to leave the sin. I wasn't successful in leaving it, but I was successful in this sense that I successfully always made the niyat to change, even though I wasn't able to change myself. That's called istiqamah. So then that reason goes away. Now you don't have to be hopeless. Because hopelessness is not about the result. Yes, you can then self-discipline yourself and be upset with yourself if you're not making enough effort. It's the only system of marking in the world that will grade you on effort and not result. I guarantee you. Dunya will always grade you on results. Always. Every business, bottom line, what's the result? You say, no, I put so much effort. What's the result? You go to any supervisor, any mentor, any boss, any professor. You say all you want about how much effort you put. What's the result? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what's the effort? Allahu Akbar. The sa'i, the effort that a believer makes is mashkura, is appreciated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is ash-shakur. It's one of His names. It also comes, this word comes in Quran for us, وَقَلِيلٌ مِّنْ عِبَادِيَ الشَّكُورِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about us that there are very few of my creatures and servants who are truly appreciative and grateful of me. He is also ash-shakur. He values and appreciates even an atom's worth that a person does. مَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ. A person who does even the weight of an atom of evil or good, Allah Ta'ala will note it. So even if you make an atom's ounce of effort, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will honor that effort you make. Now nobody, even if you could imagine, okay, there might be some being that will reward you in effort, no one would reward you with just a subatomic particle amount of effort. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will do that. So these two reasons have been discussed. Hopelessness due to something external, and hopelessness due to my own lack of success. Third reason we don't have istiqamah, which is more devastating, more critical, requires more effort on our part to cure ourselves of this third reason. This is called heedlessness. Again, I'm going to recite and then try to translate this verse of Quran to you with the tone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran al-Kareem, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, وَلَا تَكُمْ مِنَ الْغَافِلِينَ وَلَا تَكُمْ مِنَ الْغَافِلِينَ. And don't you dare ever let yourself be from the people of ghafla. Don't you dare even for 1 second allow yourself to be like those people who forget Allah, who are mindless, heedless of the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is one of the great reasons why me and you don't have istiqamah. We don't have that consistency and perseverance on deen, because we're drowning in ghafla. The screen ghafla. Overeating, oversleeping, oversurfing, overconsuming, living beyond our means, or those who have elevated means living beyond our necessity. All of this falls in ghafla. When the Mufassirun, they did tashrih of waylul lil mutaffifin, they said at-tatfif fi kulli shay. There can be imbalance in everything. In everything. The more imbalance you have in dunya, the less possible it is to have balance in deen. I'll give you an example. Sometimes people say this, mashallah, those of you who would sit in a masjid for a bayan wouldn't say this, but there are sometimes people who have said this sentence to me. In fact, I remember one but I won't describe that person to you. One particular person from particular, let's say, gender, particular age group, particular ethnic background. And just give you ishara. He said this sentence to me, and I have talked about this sentence so many times. The sentence he said to me was, "It's only sunnah." Allahu Akbar. It's only sunnah. I want to capture his tone. It's only sunnah. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. So my response to this is that you don't tell me this. He's your Nabi. You go to Medina Munawwara, you go to the Rawza, and you tell him. It's between you and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You have your personal shahada. You said ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. You have a direct ummati Nabi relationship. You have taken him as your Nabi. You are his ummati. You tell him. It's only sunnah. Then I retranslated for him. Okay, why don't you know what this sentence means? He's only my Nabi. He's only my Nabi. How does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala view this? لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying in Quran al-Kareem that you have lakum, for your nafa, for your benefit, for your sake, fi Rasulillahi, for in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, uswatun hasana, a noble, beautiful example. He said it's only sunnah, and he was talking about something outward, something apparent. Okay? I would take a key and I would scratch your BMW. Your engine is fine. He said, my heart is fine. Okay? I will scratch your BMW. Engine is fine. It's only a scratch on the paint. You think you will accept that? What will he do to me? What will he do to me if I give this logic to him? Then I explained. You know, even in this world, if there's a human architect, they have their masterpiece. And they put it in something they call their portfolio. And when they come, they want to display it. You know, if they want to attract clients, everything is designed by the architect. It's not just the overall design, the doorknob, the switch, the color matching. Because that's what it means to be the masterpiece of a master architect. Now listen to me very carefully. Even more incredible than the black hole, than the galaxy, than the subatomic particle, than the quark, the most incredible thing that Allahul Khaliq designed is Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You think Al-Khaliq, that master designer, only designed his art and did not design his life, his appearance, his lifestyle? That you can say this sentence is only sunnah? So one form of ghafla, ghafil an sunan. Ghafil, heedless, mindless, neglectful of the sunnahs. Okay, now let me say something that people who do sit in the masjid sometimes do. Again, I'm not saying that any of you in Tampa. I have met people who say that the sunnah rak'ahs in prayer, they're accepted in all the madhahib and schools as being sunnah, but are accepted as sunnah. They say it's okay, it's only sunnah. And that same person, you will see them talking in the parking lot to a human being. And they will talk at the parking lot, talk in the entrance of the masjid, longer than the time it would have taken them to pray those 2 sunnah rak'ahs. That's ghafla an sunnah. Heedless of the sunnah. Okay, more. Heedless of Quran al-Kareem. Allahu Akbar. Heedless of Quran al-Kareem. There are many levels to this. One level, obviously, would be a person who never recites Quran. Okay, another level could be a person who recites but never reflects on what they're reciting. Something I will talk about more tomorrow, inshallah, in the workshop on Salah. Just a little bit I will tell you now. That Quran al-Kareem has 3 things, not 2, not 1. It has the wordings, the meanings, and the feelings. Quran al-Kareem is not complete until you have all 3. I'll give you an example from the first line of Surah Al-Fatiha, because all of you know the wordings. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All of you know the meanings. All praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the Rabb, the Lord, the nourisher, the sustainer, the caretaker of all the worlds. How many of us feel the feeling? It means that when you're standing in salah and you say this sentence, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, when you say the word hamd, your heart is bursting with the feeling of praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or are you just reciting it and moving on to the next verse before you even felt anything? Third type of ghafla, in which it's more standardly used, and this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in the Quran is even more, وَلَا تَكُمْ مِنَ الْغَافِلِينَ. Those who forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Mindless of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because they're busy in activity that makes them mindless. There are some youth who play video games and they miss a Dhuhr Salah or Asr Salah on the weekend because they were so busy playing the game. They're not bad kids. They believe in Salah. They think they should pray Salah. They believe Salah is first. They're not bad kids. But they allowed themselves to get ensnared and intertwined in an activity that roped them in so much that it brought them in a place called ghafla. There's some adults who will be scrolling the news. Allahu Akbar. Even some, mashallah, of our monastic background, so I can pick them, even some of our Pakistani adults surfing cricket scores or watching cricket matches. And before they know it, it's time for Salah. The best of them might even run and quickly make wudu and pray the fastest rak'ah, fastest Salah, so they can get right back to the game. That's also, you would think that a person at that point, would make tawbah, would feel bad, would sit a bit. I just prayed Salah quickly, 2 minutes, with 2 minutes left, let me sit, make some istighfar, make tawbah. No, salam, boom, right back in the game. Right back. Allahu Akbar. And then, remember I told you feelings? Same person. If his team loses, he feels really sad. And if the team that he supports wins, he jumps up and feels happiness. And that same person says, I can't feel anything in my Salah. No, hold on. Okay. If you can't feel anything in Salah, and you're a person who can't feel feelings, that's one conversation. But I just saw you jump out of your seat because your team won. So clearly you're a person who can experience passion. So you're a team winning a sports game is able to move your heart, and standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even not even praying, the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed us even to pray to Him, just that fact should melt our heart. Who are we, Ya Allah, to talk to you? Allahu Akbar. Just the salah, Sami Allahu liman hamidah. Ya Allah, you listen to the naqis, dhaif insan who does hamd of you. You, Allah, listen to me? Huh? Allahu Akbar. That's why one sahabi, he just couldn't get there. Hamdan kathiran tayyiban mubarakan fi. It's not a bid'ah. He said it, but Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam never taught him to say it. And Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam heard him say it. It's in Sahih Hadith. He heard him say it, and after Salah he turned and said, who said that? And then he praised it, and it became a sunnah. It's actually sunnah now, not required sunnah. You can say from the adab, mustahabat, right? So much feeling that Sahabi had, feelings in Salah. So I can't accept when the person says, I feel nothing in prayer, when he feels so much outside prayer. Yes, if a person says, I am just a passionless person, I have Asperger's syndrome, I don't know, then I can say, okay, I understand there's an issue. But we should be asking ourselves this question. And I've been telling people, I know I talk to you a bit sternly. I don't like doing that. I'm actually training you how to talk to yourself. It's not my job to talk to you. It's between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But I'm just giving you an example of how we should talk to ourselves. How I should talk to myself and how you should talk to yourself. What's the matter with me? I just stood in the court of Almighty, All Majestic Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Many times we don't even feel anything in our prayers inside the masjid. Ya Allah, we walked inside Baytullah, the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We made wudu, we heard adhan, we stood, we did ruku, qiyam, ruku, sujood. And we did all of that without feeling anything. Ghafla. But the real ghafla I want to talk about, which is the real obstacle to istiqamah, is what we call fudul. Like Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam said, min husni islamil mar'i tarku ma la ya'nihi. From the virtuous beauty of a person's deen, their very deen, is tark. They leave that which doesn't concern them. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Mu'minun, Qad aflaha al-mu'minun, who are the mu'mineen who are successful, mentions many things. One, وَهُمْ عَنِ اللَّغْوِ مُعْرِضُونَ. One of the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, عَنِ اللَّغْوِ. Again, futile, pointless activity. مُعْرِضُونَ. They do i'raz, they spurn it, they turn away from it. I'm telling you a reality. I might not be any better at it than any of you, but at least I've taken the first step, I've understood it as a reality, and that's what I want you to do tonight, is that until and unless we leave this fudul, this loud, futile, pointless, mindless activity, we will not be able to get istiqamah on deen. The majority of, mashallah, people like us who try to come to the masjid, if you miss Fajr, it's because you stayed up till 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., either talking to someone, surfing something, watching something. It's a very practical, it's just a practical, simple thing. The same young man who would never ever miss the exam at 7 a.m., right, misses the exam with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not an exam, but their appointment with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ghafla. And the last thing I will say about ghafla, overconsumption. Because that person, go back to that person who said it's only sunnah. What was he saying? What he also meant is I follow a fard only deen. If it's fard, I will do it. That's what he meant actually. But if it's fard, I'll do it. Okay, let's look to your dunya. How many clothing is it fard to have, and how many items of clothing do you have? How much food is it fard to eat, and how much food do you eat? How much sleep is fard to sleep, and how much do you sleep? What type of accommodation is fard, and what type of accommodation, square foot, do you have? So there you're going beyond what's necessary. Actually, then I would ask that, oh friend, in everything in your worldly life, you try to go beyond what is necessary, what is minimum. Is it only your deen in which you've confined yourself to the bare minimum necessary? I used to explain it to students. I used to call it the D-minus Muslim. I have experience in this because I've given students Ds. There's no such thing as a D-minus, by the way. Students would know. There's C-minus, and then there's just D. There's no D plus either. That would just be, sarcastic to give somebody a D plus as a professor. Allahu Akbar. Huh? But believe me, that D student will tell you the difference between an F and a D. It's life-saving. It's life-saving. So we want to be D-minus. It doesn't exist, but it means we want to be passed with the bare minimum marks. Fard only. It's only sunnah. I want a D. Would you accept that attitude from your children? In dunya, if your child told you, frankly, I'm aiming for a D in school. You said, get an A. He says, it's only sunnah. Allahu Akbar. Huh? You would never accept that. No way. Now you understand. You cannot have istiqamah on deen. If we're stuck in heedlessness. 3 obstacles to heedlessness. 3 obstacles to istiqamah. Hopelessness due to something external. Hopelessness on your own. And heedlessness. 3 feelings. I mentioned feelings first and then actions. Because you can't go straight to action, to amal and deen. You need to get the feeling that motivates you to do action. It's the same in dawah. You cannot do dawah to someone, pray, or do this or do that. You have to invite them, connect them to a space, a gathering, community, a learning opportunity where they will get the feeling that will motivate them to do that action. Then they will have istiqamah in that action. So therefore I talk about 3 feelings that we need. The first feeling is love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When a person has love, they have istiqamah for the sake of their beloved. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Quran al-Kareem, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. People say, who is a mu'min? So Allah ta'ala has the right to say who a believer is, and He says it in Quran. This isn't Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, it's walladhina amanu ashaddu hubban lillah. And those who have iman, they're extremely, intensely passionate in their love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not wal muttaqeen, not the siddiqeen, not the salihin, alladhina amanu. That's the bare minimum I'm saying. It's even mu'mineen are higher than alladhina amanu. It's a point of balagh. Do it for you in English. Alladhina amanu, those who profess belief. Mu'mineen, the believers. You taste that? You see the difference? Those who profess belief, the believers. Mu'mineen iman is their sifat ghair munfakit, sigha is sifat mu'mineen. And alladhina amanu is those who have adopted iman. But what are they? Just that drop of iman with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ashaddu hubban lillah. Now that's it. They've made an exchange. Yalla, I believe in you. I love you. I love you more than anything and everything else in the world. And that's the nature of love. Imam al-Ghazali ta'ala in his Ihya al-Muddin wrote that the final level of mahabba is ita'at, obedience. Al-muhibbu liman ahabba mudi'un. That the lover is ultimately obedient to the beloved. That's why we love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's not some goofy, Sufi, feel-good love. It's not like that. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ means they love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so much that they will sacrifice for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They will strive for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be all, end all of their life. With a feeling like that, you get istiqamah. You get istiqamah. That's why even in English and universal, what they call aphorisms, just sayings that are born of universal shared human experience of the centuries. A labor of love. Because they know to labor, you must have love. To make effort, there must be love. Second feeling is the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Man khafa maqama rabbihi wa naha an-nafsa 'anil hawa. That person who is afraid of that day that they will meet their Rabb. Not the Urdu tarjuma maqam, Allah Ta'ala ko rutba. That's not what maqam means here. That person who is afraid of the day that they will stand in front of their Rabb. And because of that fear, they prohibit their nafs from following its desires. Istiqamah. Fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is linked to His love. Because the greatest fear that a lover has is their beloved won't love them back. That is why the believer who loves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants the rida, the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the fear. Yes, there is fear of punishment, fear of Jahannam, but even greater fear than that. What if my Allah, my Rabb is not radi with me? I want to meet Allah Ta'ala on the day of judgment, that He's happy with me. Fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some people, they misunderstand. They say, oh, Allah Ta'ala is Ar-Rahman. He's all merciful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all merciful. And they tell themselves that in order not to feel the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So look what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explained in the Quran. Man khashiya rahmana bil ghayb. Man khashiya, another word for fear. Alright? But look at the name Allah Ta'ala. He didn't say man khashiya al-jabbar. Didn't say man khashiya al-aziz. Man khashiya al-rahman. Ya Allah, you're teaching me in Quran that when I remember you and think of you as Ar-Rahman, the feeling I get in my heart is khashiya. Ya Allah, how fearful would I feel if I remembered you as Al-Aziz, Al-Azim, Al-Jabbar, Al-Mutakabbir. Man khashiya rahmana bil ghayb means when they're alone with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So for the youth, I put it in a particular way. You're never alone. Never think you're alone. You can close the door, you can lock the door, you can draw the blinds, you can erase the history. You are never alone. Alone means that you are now one-on-one with Allah. That's all it means when you're alone. The greatest difference between muttaqeen, mu'mineen and you and me is muttaqeen, mu'mineen, when they're alone, they realize they're one-on-one with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They do ibadah, they do dua, they sleep. Me and you, when we're alone, Allahu Akbar, we take out the screen, we start surfing. You are never alone You're only one-on-one with Allah. Allahu Akbar. Man khashiya ar-Rahman bil-ghayb. So when you have the feeling of fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that can grant us istiqamah. And third one, the whole talk on this tomorrow or at Masjid Umar, I think. Third feeling is the majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's another feeling. And this feeling is very important because if you see in Salah, what are the three names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala we take? Allahu Akbar, Akbar. In Ruku, Subhana Rabbil Azim, Al-Azim. And in Sujood, Sajda, Subhana Rabbil A'la, Al-A'la. Al-Akbar, Al-Azim, Al-A'la. These three names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all refer to His might, His majesty, His shan, His splendor. It's a constant feeling we're supposed to feel inside our salah. And if a person was able to feel this, it would help them in istiqamah. So the three obstacles: hopelessness due to something external, hopelessness internal, and heedlessness. Three feelings: love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Pause. The Ahle Gaza have a greater right to be hopeless due to the external situation than you and me do, yet they're not, and they have istiqamah. The Ahle Gaza have a greater right to lapse. It's difficult to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if you feel that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is helping you outwardly. Apparently, they don't. They still intensely love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're muhibbeen and mahboobeen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So who are you and me living a life where Allah has given us every ni'mah, every blessing? We've learned in the last 4 months. Before, if I would explain this, I would say we have a blessing. You can go to a supermarket and buy any kind of juice you want. Now we've learned blessing is you have water. You have running water. You have a roof over your head. You are not fleeing from missiles and bombs. Your children are not being massacred. Your spouse was not slaughtered in front of your eyes. We don't know what type of ni'mah, what type of bounty, blessing, comfort, sanctity, security, safety we have. We must do shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We must be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَا قَدَرَ اللَّهَ حَقَّ قَدْرِهِ. Allah Ta'ala said, they do not esteem Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they do not value Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they do not venerate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as it befits Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's majesty, that He should be esteemed and valued and venerated and respected. The three actions. Number one, connection with Quran al-Kareem. And that connection is so many ways. Recite more Quran. Really, I can tell you, alhamdulillah, barakah of my son doing hifz, I came to Islam much later in life. Much later in life. And I remember when I was doing this advanced course in fiqh, even then I couldn't recite Quran properly. So may Allah Ta'ala reward one of my teachers, he made me do Nurani Qaida, if you know. And I would come in half an hour before the super advanced students. This is like a specialized course after fiqh. And I would sit there and I would be yelling. He would say louder, louder. Alif, ba, ta, tha. Oh, just every morning. 20, 30 minutes. At the age of 31 years old. 29, 30 years old. No, come on. Already the oldest student in the class. And mashallah, 90% of them are huffaz. I'm telling you, even tajweed of Quran will give you istiqamah. Don't take it lightly. And mashallah, the teachers who teach your children, even the makharij, even the letters, they're the most beautiful, noble, honored teachers. It's a hadith anyway of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam that the best of you is the one who teaches Quran al-Kareem. Now, a philosophy I've recently applied to myself I call it max out. Because for many years of my life I felt, and it was very difficult for me. It's still very difficult for me. Those of your Jummah you can see. Yeah. So I thought to myself, okay, for many years I gave myself a pass. That, I can't really do this, I can't learn Quran. I was telling some of our elders here, in Urdu, I will say it in Urdu, but then I will immediately translate it in English. Don't worry. If there's anything I say in Urdu, I will either have already said it in English, or I will immediately thereafter translate in English. So you won't be missing anything, but sometimes for me to live translate, I need to say it once. So one of my teachers, he said something which is absolutely true. He said, if you've studied ilm of deen, but you're not a hafiz of Quran, he said, you're lura langra. Lura langra in English means you're a hobbled cripple. You're a hobbled cripple. You could study all the ilm, all the tafsir, fiqh, usul, fiqh, hadith, Arabic, everything. You're the heights, but if you're not hafiz of Quran, you're a hobbled cripple. I'm a hobbled cripple. But a few months ago I had this idea, let me try. And now Allah, if I will have this istiqamah to do this, and I'm partly saying this to put myself on the spot. And if I only put you people on the spot, I should also do something to put myself on the spot. And I call that max out. Did I ever really try to max out? Maybe I can't become hafiz, but what's my maximum? Maybe I could memorize 10 juz, maybe I could memorize 20 juz. Never tried. I try now. Allah Alam, it's going slow. Who knows what will happen? Maybe I will give up. Maybe Allah Ta'ala will bless me to go all the way. No one knows. But I want you to have that approach to Quran al-Karim. Because if there's anything in this world that you should max out on, it's your connection to Quran al-Karim. People, they're trying to max. They're maxing in their physical. This is a term from physical fitness. How much can you max? Maybe they don't have it in, I know my lingo from the 80s. You would have your max that you could bench press, right? And then you're supposed to bench press whatever X% of that. What's your max? Max out on your tajweed of Quran, max out on your memorization of Quran, max out on your understanding of Quran, max out on your tafsir of Quran. It's a lifelong project. There's no curriculum, it's not X years. Your whole life should be spending maxing out. Because again, I remind you, how many people do this in their dunya? Always maxing out, always upgrading. Always upgrading, mashallah. They all upgrade their house, and they upgrade their car, and they upgrade their phone. So again I ask, oh friend, is there everything in your life that you like to upgrade? Is it only your deen where you don't want to download the upgrade? A person will say, I have a better car than I did 10 years ago. I have a better house than I did 10 years ago. I have more money than I did 10 years ago. I ask, okay, do you have more Quran memorized than you did 10 years ago? You have better tajweed than you did 10 years ago? What happened here? So by amal, I mean with Quran al-Kareem, your niyat, your goal, your dream, your aspiration, and all you have to do is make effort. We might never reach our max, but it's a lifestyle, it's a mentality. This is what these, fitness coaches, and they have, what are they called, life coaching, motivational. It's about a mentality, it's an attitude. What's my attitude? This is the problem what I'm saying. We have a maximalist attitude towards dunya and a minimalist attitude towards deen. Istiqamah requires the flip. Minimalist attitude towards dunya called zuhud, and a maximalist attitude towards deen. And there's no better place to start than Quran al-Karim. You can start by making dua. Ya Allah, I make dua. Ya Allah, make me understand every verse of Quran. Ya Allah, make dua. Let me do amal. Let me practice and implement every verse of Quran. Ya Allah, make dua that at the right time and the right moment, let me be guided to that verse of Quran that is the proper guidance for me at that moment in my life. Just start making duas like that. When you make duas like that, the feelings will come in your heart. If there's any feeling that you think you should have in deen, you don't have it, make dua. And just by putting it on your tongue in dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not just in some journal, in dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can accept that dua by putting that feeling in your heart. And I don't have to actually explain because all of us know how to connect to Quran al-Karim. We're just not doing it. Second, salah. Obviously tomorrow inshallah we have a longer workshop on that. Salah. Max out on your salah. Can I pray better? Can I pray more? Can I pray earlier? Can I pray more in congregation? We are very far. I'm very far from a max. Very far. Lots of room for improvement, as I would say. But again, we have to talk to ourselves. I can't talk to you. You have to talk to yourself. You have to tell yourself, I have a lot of room for improvement. And inshallah, if I turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and make dua to Him, He will help me improve. And third is your supplication and remembrance dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Dua, salawat, dhikr, tasbih, all of that I'm putting together as dua. Because sometimes, and the reason I mention that is because that can be the easiest place to start. Because dua is the easiest ibadah. There's no condition. You don't have to be in wudu, don't have to be in the masjid. Technically, you don't have to be facing the Qibla, the Kaaba. You can be lying down in your bed. Dua. And the best dua you can make is whatever you need in your heart at that moment for deen. Duas you can make, I give you one example right now of Quran. All the things I mentioned, you just have to make dua for them. Allah Ta'ala grant me true love for you. Grant me a love for you that overwhelms all my false loves. Grant me true fear for you that overwhelms my desire for sin. Grant me such a feeling of your majesty that it takes away my laziness, my heedlessness. You just keep saying it, keep praying it, keep supplicating it, keep making dua. And that's the easiest thing to do. And that's our greatest, I think, actual failure. Is that we have lost and lapsed in our du'as. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, He is allowed us to make dua for Him. And He said that when my servant calls upon me, فَإِنِّي قَرِيب, not only am I as-sami', am I listening, that's another verse, I am qareeb, I am intimately near. Allahu Akbar. And again, make dua for the people of Gaza. Do not forget them and all the Muslimin, all the oppressed, all the ones who have been hurt, who are sad, who are afflicted, who are being tortured, who have been maimed, who have been wounded. Say all those words to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't be shy. Show Allah ta'ala you feel it. Show Allah ta'ala you feel the pain. Make dua for each and every one of them. Say it. I make dua for the orphan boys and the orphan girls and the widowed women and the widowed men. Just say everything. Say it. Don't just speed through. If there's one dua you don't want to race through, don't race through your duas for the people of Gaza. Don't just quickly say, oh Allah ta'ala, help the people of Palestine. Boom, and then get up and go back to work. Stay a bit. Linger a bit in your dua. Then you'll feel it more. When you make dua like that, then you'll walk away. You'll be shaken. You have to shake yourself. You don't need a speech to shake you. When you make dua, you will shake yourself. Then you walk up and you'll see you go home and you see your children differently. You'll see both your son and your daughter differently. You'll value them more because you made dua for the boys and the girls of Philistine. I'm telling you, try it. You can trust me and just try it, inshallah. So now reverse. Try to have istiqamah in dua. Just make some pact with yourself, whatever level you want. Because I want to end with some practical lesson that we need a starting point. Istiqamah in dua. I'm going to be regular in dua, Ya Allah, I'm not going to miss dua. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in the authentic hadith, the dua after the fard salah is accepted. Every salah I pray, Allah, I'm going to make dua. No matter how much of a rush I'm in, I'm going to make dua. I'm not going to miss that opportunity. If I ever happen to be up in the last third of the night, when you especially accept du'as, I'm not going to, even if my eyes open in the middle of the night and I'm lying in bed, I'm going to make dua. If I'm driving I'm giving you an example, I'm going to make dua. If I leave my home, I'm going to make dua. Entering home, make dua. I'm going to just make dua, make dua, make dua. You start with the dua and inshallah then Allah Ta'ala can give us istiqamah and salah and Quran, the feelings and protect us from all the things that were keeping us from istiqamah. Dua. May Allah Ta'ala accept your coming here, your sweetness and sincerity in sitting and giving me your time on a Friday night. And may Allah Ta'ala give me the tawfiq and ability to practice what I've spoken. Very easy to speak. It's so easy to sit on a chair and speak. It's very difficult for even the speaker to do what he's saying. But our only hope is that by saying it to you, I can feel ashamed that yet again I have traveled again to another city, and yet again I've sat in another one of your homes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the masajid, and again I've addressed yet another group of people. Ya Allah, finally, maybe this is the time that I can also finally change. I ask you to make that dua for me, and I will make that dua for you. And if we make dua for each other, as Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in a Sahih Hadith, that Allah Ta'ala sends an angel who says, Ameen wa laka Ameen. Angel says Ameen to your dua, then the angel makes that same dua for the other person, and the angel says Ameen on its own dua that it made for the other person. Allahu Akbar. Ameen wa laka Ameen. Wa akhiru da'wana an alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Let's make dua together. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanallah al-azim. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وأمته أجمعين. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين. Ya Allah, Ya Rabbi Kareem, we ask that you shower your rahmah, your maghfirah, your hidayah upon us. Ya Allah, we are in desperate need of your mercy and your forgiveness and guidance, Ya Allah. Ya Rabbi, the same way in which you cast your gaze of hidayah on us and gave us the gift of iman, Ya Rabbi Kareem, we ask that you send the same hidayah on us and now make us true to that iman. Make us practicing that iman. Grant us all the attributes of iman. Ya Rabbi Kareem, make us from the sabirin mu'mineen, from the dhakirin mu'mineen, from the shakirin mu'mineen, from the salihin mu'mineen, from the muttaqin mu'mineen, from the mutawakkirin mu'mineen, from the tawabin mu'mineen, from the awabin mu'mineen. Ya Rabbi Kareem, all of the attributes, sifat of the believers that you've mentioned in the Quran, Ya Allah, we ask on this night that you grant them to us, grant us a life upon them. Ya Allah, put it in our heart to seek you, to want you, to desire you, to love you, to fear you, to venerate you as you deserve to be loved and feared and venerated, Ya Rabb. Ya Allah, take us out from all of our ghafla, take us out from every heedlessness, take us out from all of the futile surfing, all of the futile conversing, all of the futile living. Ya Rabbi Kareem, make us people of purpose, Ya Allah. Make us people who are steadfast, Ya Allah. Ya Rabbi, hear this word istiqamah. Our hearts flutter with desire, Ya Rabb, that we too want to be from your steadfast mu'mineen, your consistent mu'mineen. But Ya Allah, we have lived lives where we have wavered so much, we have faltered so much, we have fallen so much, we have sinned so much. But Ya Allah, you are Allah, Anta Rahman, Anta Rahim. You are the most merciful one, the most forgiving one, the most loving one, the most guiding one. Ya Rabbi Kareem, we ask that you send all of your rahmah on us on this night, all of your maghfirah on us on this night, all your hidayah on us on this night. Make us people of sirat al-mustaqim, make us people of istiqamat on deen. Ya Rabbi Kareem, make us firm and steadfast on deen. Ya Rabbi Kareem, grant us the tawfiq to make every ibadah with every ikhlas and sincerity, Ya Rabb. Ya Allah, we ask that you increase us in our knowledge of Quran al-Kareem, our recitation of Quran al-Kareem, our pronunciation of Quran al-Kareem, our memorization of Quran al-Kareem, our understanding the meanings of Quran al-Kareem, our feelings of the Quran al-Kareem, our being guided by Quran al-Kareem. Ya Allah, we ask that you connect us to Quran al-Kareem. Ya Allah, disconnect us from everything in our life that is an obstacle to us connecting on deen. Ya Rabbi Kareem, give us tawfiq from your karam and fazl, Ya Allah, to follow every sunnah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Make us sahib sunnah, make us people of the sunnah, people upon the sunnah, people who model themselves after the sunnah. Ya Rabbi Kareem, make us as good an ummati to that Nabi who is the most kind, benevolent Nabi to us. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Ya Rabbi Kareem, you yourself said that you sent him but as a rahmah to the worlds. Ya Rabbi Kareem, make us amongst his true followers, his true, Ya Rabbi Kareem, from the true members of his ummah. Ya Allah, we ask that you make us of those who served the deen, who helped the deen, who loved the deen, who spread the deen, who adopt the deen, who abide by the deen. Make all of our hearts' emotions, make all of our minds' thoughts, make all of our life plans only for your sake, Ya Rab, in your name, Ya Rab, for your pleasure, Ya Rab, and be radi with us, be pleased with us, be happy with us, be loving towards us, and forgive us for all the sins that we did, Ya Rab. Forgive us for the sins that we are still stuck in and still committing, and forgive us for any sins we may certainly yet commit in the future. Ya Rabbi Kareem, grant us the sifat of taqwa, Ya Allah. Ya Rabbi Kareem, the month of Ramadan is coming. We are so unprepared, Ya Rab. Ya Rabbi Kareem, help us to spend the remaining month of Shaban in preparation for Ramadan, in turning towards you, Ya Rabbi Kareem, and make the coming Ramadan be the best Ramadan of our life, be the life-transforming Ramadan of our life. Make it a means of nur and rahmah and hidayah for the whole ummah, Ya Rabbi Kareem. And Ya Allah, we make dua for the Ahl Gaza, Ya Rab, for every boy, for every girl, for every man, for every woman, for every young, for every old, for every spouse, for every father, for every mother, for every child, for every brother, for every sister, Ya Rab, who is suffering, Ya Rab. Ya Allah, you alone can rescue them, Ya Allah. You alone can send your nur upon them, Ya Allah. You alone can send your nusrat and madad upon them, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, help them when no one else helps them. Put a ray of the light of your hope into their heart when the world around them is preaching them hopelessness, Ya Allah. Make them steadfast in deen. Ya Allah, let us learn from their steadfastness. Let us learn from their strength. Let us be inspired by their sabr. Let us be inspired by their tawakkul. Take us out of our ghafla once and for all, Ya Rabbi Kareem. Let us become a strong ummah again and raise from this ummah, Ya Rab, those forces, those people, those guidelines, those strengths and those powers, Ya Rab, who can do rad of the zalimeen, who can do rad of the zalimeen, and who can do nusrat of the Muslimeen. Ya Allah, Ya Rabbi Kareem. Ya Allah, we ask that you accept the du'as in the hearts of all the listeners, on the tongues of all the listeners, and grant us the du'as that we don't even know to make, and that you know would be best for us, and all of the khair that Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and Sahaba Kiram radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in, and all of the Siddiqeen Salihin that they ever asked of you. If any and all of that is appropriate for us, we ask that you grant it to us as well, Ya Rabbi Kareem. And any evil, any calamity that they sought refuge in you from, Ya Rabbi Kareem, we ask that you grant us refuge from every fitna, from every ibtila, from every imtihan, from every trial, test and tribulation through your week, Ya Rabbi Kareem. Ya Allah, we ask that you make our children and the youth of this ummah the guiding lights of the ummah to come. Increase us in our ability to do their ta'aleem, their tarbiyah. Ya Allah, let us train our children, guide our children, educate our children, make our children firm and steadfast on deen, Ya Rabbi Kareem. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله تعالى على حبيبه سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.